Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Jitsi Community Call. As mentioned earlier, we are hosting this again, primarily in the old bidirectional communication channel on Meet Jitsi. Let's start with the usual update. I'm going to start with that because he wasn't able to make it. So he asked that we relay that there. 1 second. Sorry about that. I'm not prepared. So YouTube sharing support is now available in mobile beta. So if you want to check that out, that's cool. It's been a feature that's been long missing, and it's a handy one, right? To be able to share a YouTube video within the conference. So now that's there. Jonathan and Brian have been spending time working on a problem that many have noticed with regard to clicking on the YouTube stream. I'm just going to ask that everyone please mute unless you're speaking. For those of you who have been watching live streams generated by Jitsi, you might have noticed that there was a very annoying clicking sound that didn't quite render the conference useless, but it was really, really annoying. Jonathan and Brian spent some time on that. Would you folks want to give an update on this?
Sure. Yeah. So this problem had kind of slowly started cropping up and had started to occur more and more until it seemed to be like it was reproducing regularly, at least for me. And we did a lot of investigation at that and managed to come across a parameter that we passed to FFmpeg that appears to have fixed it. All the testing we've done with that looks good so far. It's not deployed here on Meet Jitsi yet. We only have it on beta right now, but it is in the Jibri code now. It's been committed, so anybody who's pulling from there will already see the fix. And I think we'll plan on rolling that out this week.
Thank you very much, Brian. In the meantime, lobby room is getting closer. The pre-join screens are getting closer to deployment as well. So you should all start seeing them soon. We're also spending time on looking at performance improvements because this is a topic of interest to many. I don't know if Pavel, you'd like to give any updates there, or if not, we could just do that when we have more stuff to report. Anything you want to share at this point, Pavel?
No, I don't have anything specific that would be helpful.
Yeah, sounds reasonable. And then I think this is mostly it. Oh yeah, we added a feature that kind of lets you do ad hoc moderated calls, where on an anonymous deployment with people where the default is that everyone's a moderator, you have a section that only allows specific moderators. So this is currently enabled for this place here, for the call, with only select moderators, and we'll be making the solution available for Meet Jitsi shortly, so that people who want to have more controlled meeting experiences for that sort of stuff, the public calls with large popularity, they can do so. That's about it from the update. Anyone from the team wants to add anything? Okay, in that case, I'm opening the microphone. Questions and comments from the floor.
Do I have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay to go?
It absolutely is.
Thanks. So I tried the last few days to build Jitsi Meet, the React Native part on Android, I kind of failed, but I'm assuming it's because I tried on Windows, not particularly on Windows, but like trying to get it to work on Hyper-V through Windows or whatever. But my question is more like, what distro do you guys use? So I can just get that, because I kind of gave up on trying to work through what's it called, VSL or whatever on Windows. So I'm just gonna install it on the hardware.
I don't think we have anybody from the mobile team here.
Well, Pavel, maybe you'd like to share something there?
Yeah.
Or?
Sorry, I missed the question.
So we mostly use Macs. We mostly use Macs, but any Ubuntu, any LTS Ubuntu should work.
It should work. No one like.
Well, we build it. We build it on Linux, all the distributions and everything. So it's working on Ubuntu for sure. So this is the answer.
Yeah, our CI is our Ubuntu 18, maybe, probably something like that.
Yeah, it's 18.
Okay, so Ubuntu is a safe bet.
Yes.
And Gradle version, because I read somewhere on the React Native WebRTC library that it has to be, the Gradle version has to be 4.1, or is that outdated?
I'm not sure. Pavel, do you know?
I haven't built a mobile app for a long time, so I don't really know.
Yeah, Hagai, it sounds like this might be a better question for the community, so that people like Saul and Zoli can have a look and comment there as well. Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem.
I meant for community Jitsi.org. This is obviously also the community, but I meant the forum specifically.
Yeah. No, I understood.
To WebSockets. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that and the plans, maybe also if they have other impact on the project. And the other question is just to get the front-end WebRTC stats. Currently, there's a call stats integration. Do you know of any other integrations to get those metrics onto some other metrics platform, or is this something that just would need some custom work?
I can answer the second question, but before that, Boris, Brian, George, and Jonathan, would you like to talk about the first one?
The very, very early stages of exploring like a new JVB API in general that Jacofo will use. And this is basically updating Calibri and some of the stuff we do around that. But that's still pretty early. So,
okay,
what's the catalyst for that? Just out of curiosity.
Calibri is the catalyst you asked. So we basically, like, JVB2 is already kind of long outgrown Calibri. Calibri speaks in this language that's pretty jingle-like, which has contents and channels. And then if you've noticed in the new bridge source, we move away from that. We just use basically, a conference endpoint and sources. And we have a set of shims that bridge kind of the content channel world to the endpoint sources world. And we just want to move beyond that, and we want to do a richer and hopefully a little bit more accessible API. Calibri uses this kind of big God message, and you have to just know which aspects of it to fill out for a given thing you want to do. We want to do something that's a bit friendlier there and a bit more targeted sets of a little bit of a cleaner like API, like create an endpoint or a remote endpoint or do an ICE restart or delete an endpoint, stuff like that. So that's the end goal. We may
there's
also
that
be
and
looking at
simplicity, just I guess, because in this specific
Yeah.
case, the XMPP server isn't actually bringing anything to the table in the communication between Jitsi and the video bridge.
Right. So the end game for this too is we expect to be doing something that looks just more like an HTTP style API, not something that uses XMPP for the transport. So like JSON over HTTP will probably be the end goal, but we've got a lot of steps between now and there until we get to that point.
Right. Just so to re-elaborate, maybe that the so JVB, from my impression, it was mostly an IQ handler to begin with, and so you're moving that just through so the JVB would not be connected to XMPP anymore in that world, but that's not a part of some bigger strategy to take XMPP out of, let's say, Jacofo or other pieces.
No, it's not.
No, we have no intention of changing the kind of client Jacofo communication using XMPP, and we're still looking at. We still haven't fully decided. JVB may still use XMPP to kind of announce itself for presence because that is something that's lends itself a little bit more to the muck. But for the interaction and control pieces of JVB, we're looking to get that into kind of both an updated API away from XMPP and new versions of Calibri and stuff like that. So we're in the very, very early stages of that.
So the brewery would stay in terms of like the load, tracking the load via XMPP and other presence stuff. But the command.
The brewery piece is something we're kind of considering another phase. We may do something different with that in the future, but we're not touching. I have no plans to touch that for now. But the control part is what we're looking at changing. Yeah.
Cool.
So I hope that will make users of the bridge who maybe aren't using Jacofo their lives a lot easier because it will give something a bit of a friendlier API there.
All right, thanks. And email if you could briefly mention something about the statistics.
Yeah, we're currently working on integrating FIPO's RTC stats in Jitsi Meet as well. In fact, I think that's pretty much the only alternative out there to co-stats because there isn't really much choice. So we're obviously still committed to maintaining co-stats as well because we rely on it for a bunch of things. But this is more like co-stats has a very opinionated view of the information that it should be providing, and it's really meant for, I would say, more the management and overall IT observations of a video service, and we're looking to embed RTC stats so that to answer some of the more developer-oriented questions that we might have around performance of the bridge and the various config options that we have. So essentially what this would be is there will be additional hooks in the client that query the WebRTC stats and send them to an RTC stats backend. That backend then extracts functionality, extracts specific features in their performance and then uploads them to whatever additional backends you want. So in our case, we'd be doing maybe S3 and who knows what else. And you can configure yours to go wherever you want it. That's kind of the plan there. Did you have anything else in mind?
Yeah. So for example, if we wanted to send certain stats that are coming from Peer Connection get stats, if we wanted to send some of these to Datadog or some other provider, we would have to make that adjustment ourselves to the statistics JS, I'm guessing.
Well, with that new RTC stats thing, you would be able to hook Datadog on the back end of the RTC stats server. That would be much specifically with Datadog. That would be probably more compatible with their model and view of the world anyway, because it's kind of more of a server thing. That would be kind of how we would see it. I mean, obviously, you're free to do whatever you want if you find that there are other more convenient options for you.
Okay. And RTC Stats, that's the project by Philip.
Yes.
Okay, right.
What's the timeline for that?
You can actually please don't do this again. Or
Oh, I can see.
I'm streaming.
okay.
Who was that? Was that man?
Who is that again?
Who did that? That little interlude?
Maybe you can put a password like after you kick him out. Oh yeah, someone just did that.
Yes, I'm just wondering, who was that again? Do you know the name of the person who did that?
It looked like it came. I thought I saw the little video on Elman, but I don't know. It happened very quickly. So I don't want to be an accuser, but
Elman, was that you? No? Did you share a YouTube video? Okay, let's move on. I'm not sure what I was talking about. Oh, right. So uploading stuff to, uploading the entire WebRTC internal, the entire dump of get stats on something like S3 is actually pretty useful to when looking into specific sessions. So we're excited about RTC stats.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. So
Yeah, Kaiwan, sorry. Go ahead.
I saw very strange behavior. I'm trying to simulate a packet loss with the Mac network link conditioner for the screen sharing issue. For example, when a downlink from JVB to receiver, we have one sender, multiple receiver for the screen sharing, right? For one case, and for downlink, I set a packet loss 2%, and suddenly the video from the sender, the JVB stopped sending the video from the sender to receiver. And I look at the code, I turn on the bitrate bandwidth estimation. It looks like when JVB detect the estimated bandwidth between JVB and the receiver is lower or is smaller than a bitrate of the sender. Then JVB totally stop forwarding video to the receiver. And there's no way for JVB to recover it.
In my experience, using packet loss on the Mac network link conditioner has not been a reliable way to simulate realistic network conditions, unfortunately. Yeah.
In fact, it's a reliably unreliable way to simulate loss.
So
I think part of the reason is that it doesn't. I think part of the reason with doing loss alone is that it doesn't. It just drops. It doesn't do any delay, and usually most of these algorithms are now kind of assuming like queue-based drops that involve increasing delay as well.
But the problem here, right? When bandwidth estimation, because the sender still send a transport CG packet to JRB, right? And I think a JRB get the bandwidth estimation based on a TCC packet from receiver. For whatever reason, if JRB determine the bandwidth is smaller of the receiver is smaller than the sender, in this case, JRB suspend forwarding of the video from the sender. It's a little logic, but the problem here, the bandwidth can be changed, right? But in this case, it totally stop forwarding, and there's no way to recover it. I think no matter what the network is, this thing can happen, right? For in real life, right?
This, yeah, maybe you can post some something on the community with some more information and some logs or something. That's probably something that might be a little hard to debug here.
Yeah, but I can, of course, I can send more details. But
Okay.
This so far, this is what I'm finding now, and it's very. Yeah, I use a network linear condition to simulate the case, right? But I never saw this in real production. So I look at the code, in bit rate controller code, and when the receiver bandwidth is smaller than the sender bandwidth, then of course the endpoint is not pinned, and the endpoint also is not selected. And in this case, when it happens, the target index always -1. -1 means suspending, and after suspending, it is stuck there forever.
So, Kaiden, are you sure that the bridge is not sending at all, or maybe it is forwarding but that the client is not able to decode, maybe because it's asking for the keyframes and the keyframe is lost because of the packet lost, and it just keeps sending PLIs over and over?
No, because I look at code. Okay, this is not a. Okay, I want to emphasize. I'm not using simulcast. So this is the adaptive projection is a generic adaptive projection, not VB8 adaptive projection. So when I look at the code, when this happens, I can share more details. This even JRB can request keyframe from sender, right? But because of the target index is a -1. -1 means it total suspended. So there's no way to resume sending the packet from sender to receiver. Although JRB always receive video from the sender.
Kaiduan?
Yeah.
So if the JRB detects that it doesn't have enough bandwidth, it will set the target index to -1.
Yes.
Unless it is on stage and you haven't tweaked so we have a special code to prevent suspending the on-stage participant when by default. Maybe you have deactivated that somehow. You have tweaked the parameters. It would be good to share your SIP communicator preferences in the community.
So I'm not using OR GT is client, because OR Comcast made some change for the client. So, but I'm using Hoc Moderated JRB.
You're using what? I'm sorry?
Hoc Moderated JRB.
Latest JRB.
Yes, JRB 2.0. I think it's the May version. May first version. But I'm not using GT's client. OR client a little bit different.
Okay, so maybe you're not signaling to the bridge that the person is on stage. Could it be that?
And yeah, no, but it's not. So it's totally not in because it's a string sharing, right? There's nobody talking, right? Also, there's not selected point, no pinpoint.
If you're using a custom client, many things could go wrong. So we should probably take it to the community and post all the configuration stuff.
I will send a detailed description of the issue. But whenever I use the network link conditioner to simulate the packet loss, this this scenario does happen a lot.
Yeah, something sounds like something is misconfigured or something.
Okay, thank you. I will send a post to the community. Yeah.
This fall, I have a quick question on the on simulcast. Or sorry, the layer suspension. I saw some PRs related to this. I think across JVB and some of the other repos. Is the layer suspension in the process of being added, or has it already been brought back to life, or what's the status on that?
It's still work in progress. We are working on implementing the Octo. So it's a multi-phase work because we are also implementing this thing called video constraints for to replace the well, we have already implemented video constraints messages that replace selected endpoints, pinned endpoints, last end messages, and so right now, which was a prerequisite, and right now we're in the process of propagating these video constraints across multiple bridges so that off-stage layer suspension works in an Octo environment. And there's also some work to be done in the client, because we want to. So right now the client understands a binary mode. I'm forwarding HD or I'm not forwarding HD. But in TileView, when you're in TileView and you want to forward 360p, the client is not going to suspend its HD stream. It's going to keep sending HD. So there is work in the client to actually fix that and cap the resolution to 360p whenever that's possible. Because in a relatively large call, you may have participants watching in TileView, and essentially nobody ever enters the off-stage layer suspension mode. So we want to fix that. It's still work in progress. We're not there yet, but we're working on it actively.
Sorry, it still works with what?
It's still work in progress, and we're actively working on it. It should be very soon.
Okay, great. That's really helpful. As a quick aside, like, for the different simulcast layers, are the different resolutions like 720, 360, 180? Are those effectively hard coded? Is there a straightforward way to, if we ever wanted to change them to have different ranges?
The max is setting in config.js, I think, and you set basically the top, and the other two are derived by dividing it by 2 and then by 2 again.
Oh, okay, so it does do that dynamically based on the top layer. So if we set that to be 360, it would be like 180 and 90 as the different.
Yeah, there might be some limitations in Chrome about that I don't know about. The lowest they'll do or something like that.
And there's currently some assumptions in the JVB about the resolutions to map the layers to the resolutions, because it's not actually signaled, but I've got some things in progress, which should be able to get it from the actual packets instead, but we'll need to test that.
But if you're just changing the maxes of the layers, I don't think the bridge will care, right? That's how the 1080, we can do 1080 now if it's configured. But it will get cleaner once Jonathan's stuff is in.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's great. Cool. Thank you. Oh, I can ask one more question if nobody else is going to ask anything. We've been investigating, seeing if we could add support for FEC and RED. And so I think there was an implementation for this. I think we talked about last time in the old JVB. As far as everybody's aware, this should be, if we add but just kind of having just more optimized for more resiliency. I've heard some bad things about like just UOP FEC, just in terms of how the spec works. And I saw some posts related to that on from several years back from the Jitsi team. But I guess just more generally, what are people's thoughts? Is it would that be useful to add that support for that? Is it viable? I think one of the issues is just that when you like the red packets, I think they're in the same SSRC, and so then they're in the same sequence space. So like maybe I think I read that you might need to redo packet sequence rewriting or something like that. But I don't know if anybody recalls from previous implementation.
So we're currently kind of of the view that, and Jonathan can talk more about this, but he's mentioned on multiple occasions research that shows that FEC and red don't really make a difference for video unless we're talking about some very large RTTs. You might be aware that there's an ongoing effort that we're doing with Philip Hanke to re-enable red for audio, where we think it does make a difference, but that hasn't landed yet, and it's currently not supported in Chrome.
If it's not supported, so what does Philip's implementation do if it's not supported?
It's a PR to get it implemented in Chrome.
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. That's probably a long timeline for that, though, right?
No, it's actually on the verge. I think it's being merged right now. So.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I mean, obviously there's the whole Chrome pipeline, but it's not that long.
Yeah, I guess I think it's typically 3 or 4 months for if
Right. But then for video, it really doesn't make much of a difference. Now, you're welcome to go in. I actually don't know how much it works right now. Anyways, I didn't want to interrupt that. Like, if you want to continue the discussion for video because you want it, then I don't
no, audio, honestly, would be preferable anyway. So, but if that's something that's on the horizon, so we would still need to have support for it in tandem with Philip's Chrome support, right? So we would need to add bridge support for it as well for that to work.
Yes. Although it's not entirely clear yet what we would want the bridge support to be and what the behavior would have to be. But yes, absolutely, it would have to be something.
Does anybody know the like a link to the merge request for Philip's change?
Yeah, I'll try to find it before the end of the call.
Great, really appreciate it. Thank you.
I have one more question. So in our production, we saw a lot of log about the packet doesn't have picture ID. So I'm wondering, in what case, VP8 Chrome doesn't send a picture ID in VP8?
If you don't have simulcast, I think it sends a simple.
Well, it should always send picture ID, even if it doesn't send.
No simulcast. No simulcast. So all of my every packet has no picture ID. So I saw so many logs in JVB. Remember in Jitsi transform, media transform. So I'm wondering why. Any idea, Jonathan?
I don't know. I mean, I started testing that because we were seeing a weird error case that turned out to be Firefox probing packets, which we weren't handling properly. We were treating the padding as being actual packet data. It's possible that that's no longer necessary to do, but so possibly we could just remove that log message. But I don't recall seeing that in any of the deployments of how the Jitsi Meet client is doing things. So short answer is I don't know.
Okay, that's good. That's okay, but it doesn't hurt. I'm wondering, there's so many,
yeah, so
many logs.
Right. So the issue we were seeing is there were cases where we would see on the same stream some packets would have it and some wouldn't, and that will cause chaos. but that turned out to be because we were misinterpreting probing packets. I
Okay.
agree. If none of the packets have, so possibly I should just have a switch so that it doesn't log it more than once per stream, so it doesn't fill up your logs in that case. So I should be able to, I should be able to make a change there.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that filling up your logs is a bad idea.
But in combination with what
No. I definitely know.
you
RTX
don't
first.
have?
No, first simulcast is not enabled.
Yes, but how about RTX?
RTS. Okay. For the first question, not picture ID question, I enabled RTX.
And Jonathan,
I
do you-
enable RTS, and I can test without to take the RTS off without to do the same test. I will share the report. I haven't noticed that I didn't run the test for the when RTS is off. Yeah.
No, RTX is good. Don't turn it off.
I will send more details. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. RTS is enabled when this thing happens. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a general question to what I asked before. So I saw.
Go ahead, Haggai.
Okay, thanks. I saw a video of you from a few years ago speaking about the React Native library, about the advantages and disadvantages, and I just wanted to ask, did anything change? Do you think there are more advantages, more disadvantages right now in that field? How does it look on your side? Is it, you said in the video 90% was React Native or something? Did that change?
No, the mobile app is still very heavily React Native. Yeah, there are.
So the React Native library, WebRTC library, is that also like the same, basically the same thing that you use that I understood, but is it something that you modified on the Jitsi Meet side, or is it really?
Yeah, we are contributing significantly to React Native, to React Native, WebRTC React Native, whatever. So, but it is a project that originated outside of Jitsi. But we are modifying it, not modifying it, but contributing to it significantly so that it satisfies our use cases.
Yeah, I saw the commits are really high from developers working on Jitsi Meet. So I was asking myself, does it, like, can it stand in itself as well? Because we're thinking of using that library. So.
Oh, sure. I think there are other people using it, plenty of other people using it for sure.
Do you have a good example? Because I went through all the repositories. I didn't find anything big.
I know Dan Jenkins is using it. If you know Dan Jenkins, he's using it for all his work. I don't know how much of it is publicly accessible and where. And I think I saw other stuff as well. But so if your question is where can I find public examples of using the library without it being Jitsi, I don't have an answer for that.
Okay, but it is being used from a lot of people, not publicly. Just that's good to know as well.
That is my understanding. Yes.
Cool. Thanks.
Hello. Is there any plan of doing screen sharing in React Native?
there's a desire to do that someday. There's no ETA at this point. It's fairly easy to get it to work on Android, and it's fairly convoluted to get it to work on iOS, which is why it's not something that will just land shortly.
Okay. I also read it somewhere that you are working on bigger rooms for more than 100 people. Is that still in the pipeline?
We have done a lot of the changes that allow us to go to higher limits. We're currently limiting rooms to 100 people. We think actually that this opens up a lot of possibilities with regard to higher numbers, but we're not currently working on specifically focusing on those use cases. Maybe in the future. We do encourage people to consider the live streaming support instead, and we are considering making live streaming better integrated so that people joining the meetings will be directly exposed to the live stream as a first step, and only then select to join the room or not, and then they would go through lobby and things like that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, I'm CJ.
Hey, CJ.
I've been organizing some Meet.Jitsi events, and one of my users likes Firefox. And when we get to 8 to 10 participants, he asks everyone to turn off the video because it keeps crashing his browser. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm not him. How can I debug this, get you information, or figure out what's going on so that I don't need to turn off everyone's video when we get to 8 to 10 participants?
So which client is crashing? I mean, once you start receiving all the 8-10 videos, that's the one that's crashing.
My user is using Firefox. I don't know what platform. I haven't asked him all the questions. I'm trying to figure out what I need to do to debug it.
Yeah, something like this. I mean, maybe if you could post in the community, I mean, we would need more information. It's not very obvious right now, but then, yeah, if you could post it in the community, I can ask.
So what would you need? OS version, Firefox version?
Yeah, Firefox version, platform, and whether all the other participants are doing simulcast and all those details.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll probably be back with you. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
We'll be wrapping up shortly, folks, so let's do 1 or 2 more questions.
Just as a aside to what was just the last person, I think there are a bunch of issues that I've seen in the Jitsi GitHub related to crash, and I think this may just be a Chrome issue, or just or maybe ask for Firefox, but related to sharing your screen. We have seen we've received a number of reports of this. I have a feeling, regrettably, that it's a Chrome issue.
Is this in Windows?
It seems to be predominantly Windows, yeah.
Yeah, I've experienced that just on my machine. I do think it's a Chrome thing. I think someone was asking about it, and I asked him to test on one of the other platforms too, and I think they ran into it there as well. I don't know if there's a Chrome bug for it or not, though.
Yeah, maybe I can look into it, and I'll post in the community board if I find one. Because it is pretty rough.
Just a quick fix to that issue that I found out. It's very interesting because what happens is it crashes all the tabs that are open on the window that you are using. So if you just take out the tab and then you have like another window, it actually doesn't crash the whole Chrome. And if you just have one tab open in that window, then it doesn't crash anything. You just open it up again and nothing happens. So that's a really easy fix.
But it still crashes. It just crashes less.
It crashes, but you just close the window, open a new one, put it in, and pop it out, and it doesn't crash that often. The problem is that it crashes all the other tabs on the window. So if you have a lot of tabs open, it's kind of annoying, but it doesn't happen that often, so it's okay, I think, if that's the issue we're talking about, the Chrome bug.
I think maybe it manifests in a couple ways, because I've seen people in the community said as soon as they click start screen share, it crashes, so they can't screen share at all. I actually saw it a hang on stopping screen share, so it seems to happen a couple different ways. Maybe I don't know if it's the same thing.
We've seen both of those things, which is.
I get the triangle.
Yeah, they're all different. Specifically, the one with screen sharing is actually we've been able to narrow it down to non-Intel GPUs on Windows. Seem to be the ones that are reproducing this the most often. And as far as I know, the Edge team had submitted fixes for that, so they should land with Chromium shortly.
That's good to know. I wonder if there's a workaround in the meantime of just maybe just not allowing them to screen share. But I guess it's not easy to test to see if they're on a non-Intel Windows machine.
Yeah. Also, CJ, one of the things that specifically for you might help as well is that you can ask your user to move to low bandwidth mode, which would mean that they won't have any video without disturbing anyone else.
That user always turns off his video and
move to low bandwidth. That's a different thing. That's not turning off the video.
Okay.
So low bandwidth will turn all video for that person and only that person off. Everyone else will continue to communicate however want to.
Is that the user can set that themselves?
Yeah, have a look at the lower right corner, the ellipses, the three dots, and then manage video quality.
Got it.
I have a quick question
Go ahead.
regarding the security. So first of all, is it possible to give people the password in advance of a meeting?
Are you talking about Meet Jitsi?
Yeah.
You can absolutely give it in advance. You just cannot set it in advance. So you're going to have to be there first and set it before anyone else comes in. We're working on a new mode of using Meet Jitsi that would let you go to a third site that will generate a room with a specific name and hash, and will give you two links. One that will let you join as moderator, and then everyone else will join as a regular user. The name will be fairly long and unfindable. So you actually wouldn't even need a password in those cases. That should come in fairly soon. And yeah. But yeah, for now, if you want to use a password, you just got to be there.
You just have to be there first, and then the meeting lasts until the last person leaves, right?
Correct. Yes.
And then the other thing is regarding the kicking capability. That's been removed now.
The what? Sorry.
Kicking somebody out. I remember 2 weeks ago there was an issue there. Somebody kicked somebody else out.
No, that's the functionality that I'm describing, except that right now it's only enabled I mean, it's not enabled in a public usable way. So this is restricted to the Jitsi team. So the Jitsi team is has the moderator role in this call and no one else does. And that's how it would work once we enable that new feature that I just described. You'd be able to have the same configuration in
Got it.
channels.
Okay. So this is a good model for how that works. Okay, and Emil, I sent you a private message. If you have a chance to take a look at that.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. And see you again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Like
You did,
almost
okay.
like 6 or 9 months ago, like right when I like a month after I started doing this.
Ah. And you built it on Ubuntu, I'm assuming, no?
Yes. And when I dig it up, I'll like well, okay, I'm actually much more busy than I thought I would be, and I didn't get back to anybody's emails. But I actually wrote like a little guide on how to do it. And I actually also like the guide was like okay because then as I was doing it, it's like okay, there's all these steps that they might miss. But I also wrote a script that would auto install it and auto build it, so like you could get set up the work environment. I'll probably have to update that, but I've been meaning to when I get around to updating that and doing that. But I had remember
if you
how
could just send me that unupdated, I would appreciate that as well.
Oh,
'cause, I mean,
no. Well, it's not just it works fine unupdated or something. It's more along the lines of I'm pretty sure I made some minor edits to it that'll probably break it, and I don't remember which one because they're like on scripts all different. Like I'd have to track it down and test if it works, which I'll do at some point. But
did you use the SDK or are you talking about building the actual app?
Doesn't what is it? Like there's an SDK that you use to build the app, I think. Yeah. Oh no, there's actually there's separate SDK too, but no. So basically, you can compile like you download You can also do it command line without the GUI too, which I had set mine up so I could do that, so I could automate everything. But
how do you set up everything with Android with the command line? I mean, that's pretty difficult. You need an emulator?
So actually you don't need to do that. It was just that as I was getting through this, I was realizing that like, oh, okay, all the things that I need to do, like I'm actually doing all of these in the command line. I'm just having this thing open here and it's like getting in my way and like I'll change something on that and not realize it. And then they said like, oh, actually you can use the command line. And then it's like, after that, it's like, oh, and instead of just using the IDE, you can actually download the tools. And there's like a way that you can just download the tools you want. And then I thought like, oh, well, this might be a little cool, handier. And then at the same time, what was it? When I was trying to compile it, when I started, I didn't have like a modern Android phone that would work. I had broken like a Galaxy S5 like a few months before, and now I only had an S3, and like it wouldn't work on that. And I don't think it would have worked on the S5 either. But so what I was doing was I was running a virtual machine of an Android. And so
emulator.
And so because I only had like in my spare laptop, I only had 8 gigs of RAM. And I needed to be connecting them up. There wasn't enough RAM to run
the emulator of the like the computer and the emulator of the Android. Like I could technically run them, but it would be like awful. And so I started getting into like, okay, I'll move some RAM from one VM over to the other, and then I figured out how to get it to like connect. You can actually connect your like your Android like to like a virtual machine in the cloud, and I figured out how to do that, and that made it kind of you just pass through things you can do.
Sounds very complicated.
It's not as complicated as I thought it would, as you would think it would be.
What did you use to connect your Android to the cloud? I didn't get that.
So they have like when you're developing it, they have the like kind of you plug in a USB and it's going to you set it in debug mode, and that's how you load like you side load your apps that you're developing. And so you're side loading the like the stuff over it shares like one part of the program talks to another part of the program using a port. And so you set up the one part of the program that talks to your cell phone on your host computer, and you have the part of the computer that's generated the like the your app on the virtual machine or wherever you have the actual app compiled, and then you pass them through and you get them to talk to each other. You don't need to do that. It was just something I ended up doing, and it was actually kind of handy.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll be happy to see if you get around to sometime in the future. It's an interesting stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's also why I knew that like why you can't change why I knew that you can't just easily change the volume levels, because of the way it's passed through. You don't have volume control in the app the way that you have them here. And I believe it's because of the way that it passes the audio through, but not in a way that you can change the volume levels, and it'll either like throw an error and like just say like warn you, or it'll just crash. And at some point somebody might fix this. I believe it like the app is getting the audio stream separately. It's just you can't do anything with them unless you go into the Java and actually pass it through to the React Native app in the right way, which I don't know how to do.
This is super interesting. So this is a React Native problem.
Wait, no. This seems to be like a Java problem, or in one of the libraries that React Native is using.
What do you mean?
What do you mean the problem? No, like it's that the way that the audio is passed, like for the specific feature that I wanted to add, which was like the ability to change the volume. The way
but
that
the audio
is
passed with WebRTC, no?
Yes, but it's not passed. It's not passed into the app the same way that it's passed into the web app. Like
yeah, but the what's passing it into the app is the WebRTC, the React Native WebRTC library. So it's a React Native WebRTC library problem.
It's yes, but it might be actually something in between the WebRTC library and something else. I'm not sure. It might be that, but basically, because I didn't track down the bug or what exactly it was, I can't tell you. Is it that part of the code, or is there something else in between it?
Interesting. Yeah, I'm looking to find like disadvantages and advantages of the WebRTC, of the React Native in general, and specifically for WebRTC. And this is basically the only app that actually uses it in public, and like takes care of it and goes back and changes stuff, and yeah, all the rest of the stuff is not public, so difficult to figure out what's going on.
I wonder how many what is it? Other companies or people, how many of them are going to basically, if they want to do something with video, I would imagine that a lot of them are going to basically be taking Jitsi and like working from there.
Well, the question is,
some of them might not, but I would imagine that.
Well, that's what Matrix is doing, basically. So that's a company or an organization that is doing that. So that's one. I know a lot of universities using it and modifying a little bit, but they're not really building on top of it. They're just using
But
it.
at that point, you're still using Jitsi. You're just using a slightly modified version.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, yeah, I guess the Matrix is doing the same thing, just using it.
But I guess that also means that like people going through like school, like once you have the schools using it, this will be probably what they get exposed to if they're interested in it. But I don't know. Anyway, I have a lot of work to do, so I'm gonna go.
Okay. See you. Okay, bye guys.